Our first story, the Electoral Commission says no more than 700 people will be allowed at one polling station on election day, and in places where votes exceed this number, voters will be categorized into groups. Deputy Chairperson of the Commission, Dr. Bosman Asari, explains this is part of the Commission's measures aimed to reduce queuing and putting people at risk of COVID-19. He was speaking at the Star Ghana Election 2020 Grant Partners Learning event. More in this report by Nicholas Yamoa.
In less than 75 days, Ghana would be going to the polls to elect a new president. The first time Ghana will be voting in a pandemic. There is bound to be long queues, a phenomenon the Electoral Commission says it wants to avoid. Dr. Bosman Asare is Deputy Chairperson of the Commission.
Ahead of the 2020 elections, the Commission is not relenting. We are still strengthening and ensuring that everything is done properly. In 2016, the threshold for each polling station was a maximum of 850. In other words, no polling station exceeded 850 in 2016. But because of the pandemic in 2020, this is what the Commission is doing. The Commission is saying that the maximum that will be allowed at each polling station will be 700. In other words, this registration we undertook. Any registration center that has more than 700 people, we are going to split them into A and B.
For students and security personnel who registered at posts different from their original voting centers, transfer will be done next month.
Transfers will be allowed for only students and for those who are serving in the security agencies. Because during the registration, some security personnel from Accra were policing the registration in other parts of the country. The transfer will be allowed for the all other security agencies similarly situated. And apart from that, some of the students, we also noticed that they registered when they were in their schools. So transfers are limited. And if transfer, the committee is looking at the transfer taking place. Transfers normally go with trust. They will take place from October 20th to October 25th, tentatively.
A couple of months ago, the Electoral Commission of Ghana defied contrary views to compile a new voters register, which is currently being exhibited. Some chaotic scenes, including gunshots, were recorded during the registration exercise. Executive Secretary of the Peace Council, George Amo, says so far 16 electoral violence hotspots have been identified.
We are linking up closely with the Center for CDD, Center for Democratic Governance and Development, the CDD. And what we are doing is to go to 16 hotspots, identified 16 hotspots, where we are setting up what we have termed peace mediation committees. These committees are going to be a kind of an early warning and response mechanism in these areas so that they can relay information timeously for effective responses to be given.
Meanwhile, the police service says it is battle ready for violence, both physically and online. DCOP Dr. Saibu Gariba is on the Ghana Police Service National Election Task Force.
The cybercrime unit of the Ghana Police Service, in conjunction with our sister security agencies, are working to actually ensure that we have the space, the capability to manage online cyber crimes. That one is being done. And aside that, we have taken all issues into context, whether it is cyber crime, whether it is direct or physical. I can assure you that the strategy for this election is covering all that issues, and we'll be able to manage that.
Nicholas Eko Yamo's report for Joy News.
Now, the Peace Council says it has identified some hotspots, among which is informing the EC's decision to reduce crowds at polling centers. Mr. George Amo is the Executive Secretary of the Peace Council and joins us with more details. Mr. Amo, thanks for joining us. Tell us more about these hotspots. What criteria was used to identify them, for instance?
Yes, Daniel, thank you, and good morning to our cherished listeners. What we do is to evaluate constituency by constituency to see what is it that makes a particular constituency prone or more prone to electoral violence. So indicators such as the incidence of violence, intemperate language used by politicians or political actors within a particular constituency, the history of a particular constituency relating to violence, So we put together and rate them, and we have noted close to 200 hotspots across the country, but for lack of resources, together with the CDD, we've selected 16 that we, in our opinion, can manage within the resource constraint that we have. So a place like Sankore, which is noted for political violence ahead of elections and even after elections, is one of them. We've looked at a place like Sawas, and areas across the country.
Right. Mr. Amo, so what's the recommendation to the security agencies now that we have 200 hotspots?
No, we are working closely with the police on some of these matters. We are recommending that that is why we have set up these peace mediation centers. One, to bring up the early signs so quickly for the needed responses to be given. We are recommending to the police to be swift with investigations. I know that would engender confidence, which is now being challenged, especially by opposition political parties. So we recommend that we don't keep quiet. We speak up. There are institutions around who are ready to support us when we see the signs of violence or threats of violence there. So we also recommend to all citizens of this country, let us not wait until a particular issue is turning to a violent a scale that we cannot manage.
Right.
And we also recommend to you, the media, that let us be very sensitive in the way we report issues relating to violence.
Right. Now, you mentioned that because of resource constraints, you can only focus on 16 of them. Should we not be worried?
Not at all. We are closely monitoring. We have regional offices across the country. We work closely with the National Commission for Civic Education. Together with OneNet, we have trained over 60 monitors across the country who are picking information and relaying the information to us almost every hour. As we speak, we are here at the Best Western Hotel. We are inaugurating a national election response group, which is going to be a platform to give timeous responses, to issues that will come up from our monitors. So aside of the 16 areas that we are focusing due to the peculiar environment, we are also spreading our wings across the country to ensure we have total peace before, during, and after December election. So
if I may ask, Mr. Amo, what would happen in these 16 hotspots that will not happen in the other more than 100?
Yes, your first question, you asked me why we are going to such places. So the indicators shows that these are highly prone areas that we have to give these areas, more attention than other places. So that is what has informed us, and we think that it is good that we position ourselves as part of our strategy to ensure these areas do not go back to where they used to be, especially during election years. So that is why we are giving these areas particular attention.
Right.
Otherwise, they are not different from the other places.
Right. So can you name some of these areas for us? Earlier you mentioned Sankore. Which other hotspots have you identified?
Yes, Sankore, I mentioned Banda is one. In recent times it came up strongly. But this place, I don't have the list before me, but Doma Hinkro is also one. Quite a number of places.
Do you have the Ewutu Senya where
yes,
we had the shooting?
We have, yes.
Is it in the 16 or
I would have to
200?
check it, but we have. I think in Central Region, that is the place that we have spotted.
Is it in the 16 or the 200?
The 16.
The 16.
Yes, I'm sure about that, yeah.
Right. Some of these issues may seem a bit unresolved. I don't know what your impression is. For instance, you mentioned Banda. Some of the issues, if you speak to the political actors, the issues are still pertaining. Eutu Senya as well. What's the strategy?
Yes, that's why we are setting up the committee. The committee is made up of eminent persons that we have identified together with stakeholders in these constituencies to help us, address the issues, not only in terms of, dealing with the criminal part of it or reporting, complaints here and there, but also to build relationships, restore where they've been broken ahead of the elections. So the PMCs or the peace mediation committees that we are setting up in these areas are going to deal with issues that come to their attention and also try to mend a relationship that hitherto probably had been destroyed because of the voter registration or other issues that came up. So we are trying to do that, using both the soft, approaches that we can master and also mediation tools we are going to make available to this system.
Thank you very much, Mr. George Amo, for joining us this morning.
I'm grateful. Thanks.
And away from elections, wards and OPD in the Kratche West District Hospital remain empty as nurses and midwives strike enters day 3. But for the strike, Tuesdays and Wednesdays are the days the town records its highest client attendance. JoyNews visits to the facility Wednesday morning saw a handful of people being attended to by only 2 doctors in charge of the facility. Some people who are at the hospital have been speaking to JoyNews. You'll hear from these patients a bit later. Peter Senu is joining us via Zoom with more. So, Peter, these doctors, first of all, how are they coping? They're just 2 on some of the busiest days of the week for them. How are they coping?
Speaking to me, Dr. Mwate was just speaking to me and says that it has not been easy for them for the past 3 days, having had to deal with the large numbers within the catchment area. And he has only been appealing to authorities to attend to their colleagues to come back so that they can work together to save lives, as one of their core mandates is to do. But he was supposed to be here with me, but for a meeting we had now, he's in there. And so, well, patients keep trooping in. Yesterday and today is the market day here. They keep coming, but for the those they have who are not, how do you call them? The casual workers. The casual workers that they are making do with them. Since they do not necessarily belong to one or two or the other association, they are making do with them in the various wards to render services to their clients. Daniel.
Peter, what about the patients themselves, the clients you speak of? I can imagine that the Kratche West District would have so many people traveling long distances to come to the hospital, only to find that some of them cannot be treated.
Yeah, if I get you right, there was a trip there, but most of them would have come from the overbanks to while they come for trading activities, they seek medical attention. One was just telling me that he came from quite a distance only to come and meet an empty space there. But he said he didn't even know that the nurses were on strike. One stroke patient we also spoke to said she didn't know, she only came to seek medical attention, only to realize that it's an empty space. No one is really here to provide service to them, Daniel.
Right, Peter, let's hear a few more of these patients, then we come back and wrap up.
Okay.
Me ba do nde.
Opo boa.
O ma pa gbon ha de. Me ba de hu. Na ko to bien ki. E fo nye ba.
Okay. Me ba de hu.
Me ba de hu. O doctor pom o de. Ke na ojije be ne ji me le do won yo ta ma na ive. Ta me le ive na o va ko no ava akpogbonye. Ta me va bola ni me die enya ma be.
O manya bo le strike.
Ni me nya o.
E vone chan ye be gba asigbe anya na me po le fizare.
Me nya bo.
Ya e view de kama klove wa.
O.
Ebe no kala fude na ebe no kala wa store.
Ro ke le fude na.
So me ba doctor no kaya payment tama kama ko fi na me ko afu. O mo payment. Me ba tina ho sa ke taman nyina adre me ya adwuma bia ni anya me de. O mo ba payment ka ya me de.
Nti se doctor ba ko pe na hwemu.
Doctor ba ko pe na ba fe.
So you just heard Peter speaking to these patients. The first patient he spoke to, the female, said she did not know the nurses were on strike. She came, the doctor took her blood sample and asked her to wait for a while. The man, on the other hand, said he's a farmer, and if attended to early, as it used to be, he'd have gone back to his farm. He's calling for the return of the nurses. Now, some nurses, apparently, who spoke off camera say it's a mixed feeling for them, as they would have to fight for what is due them, and they are reneging on their core mandate to save lives. Peter, tell me about these nurses you spoke to and how they feel about this.
Yeah, I've been speaking to them, and in fact, well, they feel sorry for what is happening. But somewhat, they say, well, if they don't fight for what is due them now, it means that there's no other day they would have the opportunity to fight for exactly what is due them. In fact, some of them who have even taken ill are seeking medical attention. I've seen some of them, but they wouldn't like to go on record, so we couldn't. But this is the situation here. Although they are striking, some of them are equally seeking medical attention. But for their colleagues who are, I mean, the casuals who are working, and then the two doctors manning the facility here, well, we wouldn't know what exactly would be happening to the numbers that will be trooping in, and even the nurses who may not be feeling too well and would have to seek medical attention. Daniel.
Peter Senu, thank you very much for that update. Let's go to the Bono East region. Anas Sabit is standing by with the latest. Anas, where have you visited today and what have you discovered?
My first point of call has to do with the Children Health Center. It is the largest health facility in the Techiman North district. The district has 5 health centers and then 6 CHIPS compounds with 2 private facilities which are closer to Techiman. The rural areas in the district are without private health facilities, so they are relying mostly on the CHIPS compounds and then the health centers. They are the Children Health Center where I just left. I'm heading towards another health center. I realized they have some few patients who are around seeking for medical care, but there's no single health official, no nurse, no midwife, and also no one in particular to take care of them. The people I've been speaking with, most especially one elderly woman who is diabetic, who told me she is on a particular injection she takes in the mornings and then in the evenings. And for the past 3 days, she's not been able to take that particular injection, and it's affecting her badly. So this morning she got to the facility hoping that there will be someone available to do that for her. But unfortunately, she would have to go home and then without that particular injection. So she had to call on government to swiftly respond to the calls of these health nurses and midwives so that they'll be able to come back and then respond to them.
It's a sad story indeed, Anas, that you share with us this morning. Now, earlier this week, we know that the leadership of these nurse associations were patrolling the various health centers to monitor the beginning of the strike action. Did you see any of these nurses, any of these officials there today?
Not even a single of them. Like I said, I've met some officers, staff of the facility who are finance officers, some who are other with the administration, but because they are not professionals in the health sector, they will only have to be there. And when it's about media, they will have to go home because those health officials who are supposed to take care of these patients are not available. So that is the situation here. But the most unfortunate thing is I've been to the Chidiaja Chips compound. That particular health facility has been closed down and completely because the few health officials in charge of that particular Chips compound are all nurses. So once they are on strike, there's no need opening it up. And so it's almost same in most of the Chips compounds in this particular area. And because of the how scattered the area is and the distance between those communities to the next private hospital, which is in Techiman, most of these patients who are in that area or in those areas would have to wait until the nurses are back on strike, from the strike, before they will be responded to with their problems.
Anna Sabes, thanks for joining us with those updates. So live on JoyNews Desk with me, Daniel Daze. The Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association and the other aggrieved groups are scheduled to meet with the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations and other organizations under the Ministry of Finance and Health today, after which we should begin to see some resolution to this matter. So stay tuned. Your most credible news source will bring you those updates as they come. Let's do some politics. Now, a national organizer for the New Patriotic Party, Samia Uku, is asking Ghanaians not to vote for a president who wants them to be Okada drivers or riders for life. He said it would be suicidal for Ghana to trade its color TV for a black and white television, in quote, in the December 7 polls if they vote for John Dramani Mahama. Maxwell Kudeko has more.
According to Mr. Sami Ewuku, Ghanaians should not be swayed by former President John Mahama's promising of heaven in this year's election. Sami Ewuku said Mr. John Dramani Mahama, given the opportunity to serve as president and vice president respectively, could not prove himself to be a good leader who has a will to making Ghana heaven on earth. Speaking at the campaign launch of the NPP New Durban South constituency, Sami Ewuku said Mr. John Mahama, out of frustration, is promising to legalize Okada business, a business he rendered illegal during his tenure in office. Sami is urging Ghanaians not to make a mistake and unleash Mr. John Mahama onto the people of Ghana again.
Mr. Mahama made Okada business illegal. The NPP in 2016 brought our own set of programs, including industrialization of Ghana. That's the one district, one factory. Making sure we tackle agriculture. And tackling agriculture with this planting for food and jobs and other alternative forms of livelihood that is sustainable. Nobody can be an Okada rider till 50 years or till 55. And the teeming youth of our country, what we need, we want sustainable jobs, just as the Kufuor government is providing. So I was looking forward to a much more exhaustive debate on how the alternative to the MPP, that is the NDC, can come up with a set of programs and policies that will help enrich the debate and give me hope and give the rest of the youth hope. Not a president telling me that vote for me when I come, I want you to be an Okada driver for life. The NDC is not able to even organize people, even from their own food, the former president, to even show much and greater interest in what they are doing. Because he himself feels that there are a lot of things going wrong in the boat that Mr. Mahama is partnering or even riding in it. So clearly for us, we are determined. We've brought everybody on board. The party is solid and united and poised for victory.
New Patriotic Party parliamentary candidate for the New Durban South constituency, Mr. Michael Ochebefi, also touted the works of Akufo-Addo in New Durban South and Ghana as a whole, saying the Akufo-Addo government footprint is all over Ghana. He said the Kofodia Zongo will soon benefit from a 100-bed capacity hospital to bring healthcare closer to them, while some major community and town roads will also see a facelift before the election. Michael Ochibefi said job creation and employment issues is top on his first step agenda for the New Jabin South constituency.
We have a 11-point development agenda in 4 years, and one of them is job. We believe that people are not working here. You know, before there we don't have any business taking place here, especially in the area of industries. We don't have that in Before. There's a need for us to shift the paradigm now. We have to now push the interests of the people to maybe that area. Look at those who have the capacity to run business or the financial muscles to start up businesses. We have to push them so that they can come and also, well, you see, politicians are somehow lobbyists. We can also push hard in trying to get some government appointment and employment.
Now, at a news conference yesterday, however, the Okada Riders Association described the stance of the NPP against the legalization of the Okada business as sheer dishonesty. Here's their leader, Nathaniel Katei.
The back what considered to be just a campaign promise with the 2020 manifesto of Mr. Mahama Party, the National Democratic Congress, specifically paragraph 8, 2, and 10 of page 93, state boldly that the next NDC government will legalize and regulate our operation. Indeed, the NDC's manifesto launch, the leadership of Okada Riders Association of Ghana was invited, and we did not only hear the promise read out, but we also got copies of the manifesto and we read it ourselves. In the case of NDC, their position on the widely discussed issue is clear and ambiguous. It's clear and unambiguous. In short, John Mahama and NDC are promising to legalize and regulate Okada when elected. Ladies and gentlemen, while we can state the position of the NDC with certainty, we cannot do the same for the government New Patriotic Party.
Now, some of their members also spoke to JoyNews.
Mahama is mainly because of the legalization of the Okada. You know, we've heard, it's been rumored that there will be a cancellation of Okada when a political party comes into a power or is given another 4 years. Well, it's painful because, in my opinion, we the bikers, I'm also included. I'm also a biker, and I'm also in the tertiary. But I've been biking for this period because there's been a short of money, you know, due to the lockdown. I mean, you bear in mind that with me that now people are struggling. We are all struggling. We are in pains. We are hungry. Yeah. So we created this job for ourselves, and it's a temporary job. Yeah, but we've realized there is something in it. It's been helpful. So now we've come into conclusion that okay, since there are no jobs, and then we've created a minor job for ourselves, and then it is beneficial, we're gonna continue with it. So if Mahama is here to help us and then legalize it, oh, then why don't we support for us?
So right now, no, we want to hear that what Mahama won't do for us. We want something special. We want Mahama take us do like on fire idea. Yanibete. So I say, ya pesa Mahama on fire idea yanibete. So it is on ya Okada and ya juma bone. Aha, this year TV and ya juma bi anye. I no say ye didi. Ah, this year no beso ngunu ne ko juma ben. Ana abema juma ya na de. Ani ne say didi.
Now, Solomon Akpanaba speaks for the association and joins us on the phone with more. Ms. Akpanaba, thanks for joining us. Now, the argument of the MPP's national organizer has been that Okada is not a work that you can do till you're very old, and so let the current government provide for you more sustainable jobs that you can build a career on. Your response.
Hello?
Mr. Akpanaba, you're on air on News Desk.
Okay. Hi.
I was asking, the current government says they want to provide more sustainable jobs that you can build a career with. Are you with me, Mr. Akpanaba?
Yeah, good morning.
Great, you can hear me?
Yes, please.
Great. Do you think Okada jobs are sustainable?
You said if the Okada job...
Is it a sustainable career? Is it something you can build a career with?
Well, before I will answer that question, let me say good morning to your listeners. Let me say I enjoyed the worship song that was played before the news all started. And let me greet our listeners, road users all over the country. It's a sustainable business because, to me, I'm a professional rider. And I think many other riders will see themselves like that. So that is what I can say. It is something that...
The question is, how long can you do Okada? How many years can you do it? Can you build a house, support your family with the business?
I have trained people to become motor riders, and today they are landlords. It's less than 10 years. They are still young guys. They are still doing Okada. They have their own houses. I can mention their names and give you their contact numbers. You can call maybe assembly members from those communities to find out if they are actually there and they are actually landlords. I can give you the requisite information to that effect.
Okay, so when Mr. Samuel Oku, the national organizer, says that this government wants to provide jobs that you can do till you are 55 or 60, what's your response?
But they are going to buy kebab. I didn't get that clear.
They are going to provide a job that you can do till you are 60.
Okay. That one is, we don't want it to be like that. My brother, with all respect to all your listeners, who determines which job is safer and better? To the person who is working. As a good father, I think if your son is doing a particular work, you want to change the job for the person, your son, you need to sit with him first. Failure to do that will even make him feel like, you do respect my interests, do you respect my fundamental human rights, you do even respect my dignity as a human being. All these things will come to play. Besides the alternative giving, job, career, or whatever. You see, me, for instance, if you dash me a car today, I'll sell it today. And I know a lot of the riders will do, because we don't have the heart to join a queue on the road as people in vehicles do. Our job demands, our schedules are such that we don't have that luxury of time safety on traffic and all those things. So we have our reasons as a group of human beings for using a bike. Any attempt to change the work for us without sitting with us, you have already failed. For example, look at the traffic situation. People park V8, better cars, and pick Okada. You think those people, they are stupid?
Mr. Akpanaba, if you can calm down, let's calm down for a moment. You used a great analogy of a father and his son, a father not choosing the son's work for him. This one is illegal. It was made illegal by the government of 2012. The government is simply enforcing the law.
Yes, my brother. So if you love this country, if you have road safety issues at heart, we are talking about a law that is in enforcement for 8 years without any little or iota of results to show. Assuming that we have been prescribing chloroquine 442 for sick persons for 8 years, up till now, we are using the same thing to treat malaria. No alternative. People are dying out of the medications we are administering. A group of people are saying that, look, let us administer a different drug to cure malaria. You say you insist that we should be using the chloroquine 442. Are you professional? Do you have the safety of human beings on the road?
Again, let's be temperate. Mr. Akpan, let's be temperate. Let me ask this finally. The government, the opposition has mentioned that they want to regulate the work of Okada. Do you know the details of what this regulation means?
Sure, I know the details.
What would you be required to do?
Number one, there will be training of motor riders, which is a good thing. If anybody will kick against training, whatever sort of training it is, then the person will come out and will help.
Mr. Akpanaba, thank you. Pardon me, Mr. Akpanaba. Pardon me, Mr. Akpanaba. I hate to do this, but we just had some breaking news coming in that we need to deliver immediately. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, news just coming in is that nurses and midwives have called off the nationwide industrial action. Nurses and midwives have temporarily called off the nationwide industrial action. David Tinkrang-Chum is the General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. He's joined us on the telephone. Mr. Tinkrang-Chum, good morning. What has informed this decision to call off the strike?
Good morning, and good morning to your listeners. Well, we have been properly served by the Labour Commission. So, as law-abiding citizens, as we've been talking about all the time, they have decided to temporarily suspend the strike and proceed to the Labour Commission upon their invitation.
So, this is because of the substituted service of the court documents, if I'm getting correctly.
Exactly. We were, the substituted service was given to us, and we think that it was properly served this time. And for that matter, we need to, we can defy the express dictates of the law court.
Right. So when are you returning to the negotiating table? Yesterday, the Ministry of Employment gave us the impression that they have called you back today to continue negotiations. Are you going for that meeting?
This negotiation is not rightful. Is that sorry. We've been called to the Labour Commission, obviously, not necessarily to start negotiations, because you don't negotiate at the Labour Commission. Either you go for compulsory arbitration or something. But we will get there and be able to know the reason why they are inviting us. Okay.
So your meeting with the Labour Commission will be to discuss the details of the strike?
I don't know the agenda of the meeting.
Okay.
So until we get there, I will not be able to whatever discussion that is going to take place over there.
What is the next step for you, Mr. Tinkrang, and I mean your organization, your association, in the agitation for the conditions of service to be met?
Well, what I know is that we have been invited by the Labour Commission. Our demands are still on the table, and it is not over until it is over.
So when you say it's not over until it's over, what's the next step that the association is going to take?
I'm sure the Labour Commission will expressly direct us and the employer to perhaps go back to the negotiating table. So that's what we are looking forward to. But time is of essence. And if anybody thinks that he can fit drag or foot drag the process, then it's up to that person.
Right. So finally, Mr. Chum, does that mean that if we go to the hospital this afternoon, we'll meet nurses there?
We indicated that there's a certain system. We have a certain routine way of doing things. They have just announced that we have temporarily suspended the strike. Most of our people may not even be present at their place of work. So we've asked them to resume duty 8 a.m. tomorrow morning.
So 8 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you very much, David Tinkrang-Chum, for joining us. He's the General Secretary for the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. So that's the news that just came in. The nurses and midwives have called off their strike. At 8 a.m. tomorrow, when you go to the hospital, you can get full treatment. They are, however, returning to the negotiating table. They are going to the Labour Commission today for a meeting. Now, he wowed the NSMQ audience last year with his regular quotes from the Bible before any contest. He once quoted Exodus 14:13 in reference to his opponents as Egyptians will never be seen again. Michael Obing of St. Peter's Senior High School is back at this year's competition, as he was in second year when he first represented his school in 2019. Maxwell Agbagba has joined us live with more. Maxwell?
Yeah, hello, Daniel.
Yes, Maxwell, I understand you have the young man with you.
So we have with us the contestants from the Kumasi Anglican SHS, and you know that they won, they topped their group. I mean, actually, for the preliminary winners, they had the highest scores. They had 74 points to move on to the next stage. That's the 1/8 stage of the National Science and Maths Quiz. And if you go onto social media, I mean, many are tipping them to actually get to the grand finale. Kumasi Anglican SHS put up a spectacular, performance. So a lot of people are quite expectant of them. I have the two contestants here with me. I want to find out from them what they are hoping for, what they are expecting ahead of the balloting for the 1/8 stage of the competition, which will be happening at 5 p.m. today here on the University of Ghana campus. Let me start off with you. Dominion or Wilfred?
Dominion.
Okay, yeah. Can you watch into your camera? What's your full name?
Dominion Combination Texan.
Okay. I'm sure you've seen the support for Supercars, on social media after your spectacular performance. You won your contest in the regional, in the prelims, national prelims, with 74 points, the highest. St. Thomas Aquinas, they had 65 points. The second school to get the highest points. Now, tell me, what do you feel about this?
First of all, we thank God for how.
I want you to project a lot for me.
First of all, we thank God for how far He has brought us, and it was such a nice experience. We hope to improve upon our skills, and hopefully we will go far in this year's competition.
Okay. Let me find out from you, Dominion. You know the support, especially on social media, for Supercars, to win the 2020 competition. Last year in 2019, you nearly beat Opokuwari School, and that was when a lot of people discovered you. Does it really put any pressure on you guys to deliver when you're on stage?
Okay, one would expect a lot of pressure from such a massive support and such great expectations, but there is not that much pressure on us. We feel okay, and we are working at our own pace.
You're okay? You feel okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Still live on News Desk with me, Daniel Daze. All the best to all the participating schools in the upcoming 1/8 stage competition of the NSMQ.
Hi, good morning. Time to bring you some business news. The Ghana Investment Promotion Center is reporting that more foreign firms have expressed interest in doing business in the country. This follows the ease in COVID-19 restrictions as a result of the significant reduction in active cases. According to the GIPC, more enterprises have also expressed interest in returning to continue with existing businesses. Chief Executive of the center, Yofi Grant, tells Joy Business his outfit has instituted measures to ensure that this results in real capital attraction.
I have seen in the first 2 quarters of this year tell a different story, where in the first quarter, as I mentioned earlier, we had 180 million as foreign direct investment. The second quarter, against all expectations, we had $207 million of foreign direct investment. And it's been extremely busy for us at GIPC, constantly engaging, because everybody wants to know when the airports are going to open, when they want to come back to do their projects. We had significant development in the Accra Marine Drive project. We had significant development in the trade fair redevelopment site. We had significant development going to the Accra AI SkyTrain project, amongst many others that were almost getting investment ready until they were curtailed on the advent of the So I think that Ghana is in a great position relative to many other countries, and I think what has happened over the past 3 years is a great testament to the fact that this is a country that is well positioned as the best FDI recipient, or the most attractive FDI recipient in West Africa. by global authorities, not by ourselves. We have aggressive plans of development, and some of the policies that we have themselves have been very instructive in bringing foreign direct investment to partner with local enterprises to grow. For example, we've seen that in terms of number of investments that have come in since quarter one, and in the first quarter we registered 47 projects. In the second quarter we registered 21 projects. A significant proportion of them are in manufacturing. And always they respond that, oh yes, we like the 1D, 1F concept, and so that's where we want to put money.
Some energy issues next. The Bui Power Authority will soon add solar energy production to the hydro generation when the 250 megawatt solar PV hybrid plant at Bui is completed in the Banda district of the Bunu region. Precious Semevo has more.
Generate 400 megawatt power, but the Bui Power Authority BPA is ready to configure other renewable energy source to the hydro to show their capacity. This is in fulfillment of the government's policy of increasing the renewable energy mix by 2030 and also in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 7 on affordable and clean energy. BPA is thus constructing a 250 megawatt hydro solar PV hybrid plant at the Bui Enclave for a combined total of 650 megawatt of power. Peter Echampon is the manager, renewable energy, BPA.
Ghana government intends to, by 2030, have 10% of its energy generation coming from renewables. So Bui, as an authority within the energy ministry, and towards its contribution in assisting government in achieving this percentage, is developing solar projects. Our development is a bit unique. What we are trying to do is we are doing a hybrid. For solar development, what happens is we depend on the sun to generate energy. In our case, we are using our hydro as part of our generation, our methodology to serve as a storage. So during the day when we have the sun, we use the solar to generate, and at night the hydros will come in. So we're doing the first of its kind within the sub-Saharan Africa, what we call the hydro hybrid. So that's a solar and hydro PV system to be coupled together. We are carrying out the first phase, which is a 50 megawatt plant. It covers a total area of 200 acres. We are expecting roughly 130,000 pieces of panel to be installed. And the panel capacity is 380 watts per panel.
He said they have expanded the existing Bui generation station switchyard to accommodate the additional energy to be generated from the solar farm as they start commissioning of the first phase in October 2020.
It already has a switchyard with a capacity of 400 megawatts for the hydro. So we've just expanded the existing switchyard to accommodate an additional 250. So when all is done, it will be 650. We will commission it in phases. So the first phase of the 50 will be commissioning by end of next month. Okay. That's a 10 megawatts. And then by December, the extra 40 will be added to make it 50. When that is done, we'll move on to the second phase.
All right, and that's it for business. Sports is up next.